Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. If this is the first time you're clicking on my video, hi, I am Puspen an Indian ENT specialist, and I upload new videos on YouTube at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time every day of the week. Each day of the week subscribes to a particular theme, and Monday videos, that is today's video, subscribes to the theme of MS ENT, or more broadly speaking, commonly asked questions in postgraduate ENT theory exam. When I was a postgraduate trainee, as well as during my tenure as an assistant professor, I identified that a gap in teaching is teaching postgraduate trainees how to negotiate theory questions, because some theory questions cannot be found in the common textbooks that postgraduate ENT students read. Today's topic is one such topic. Today we will discuss parasympathetic ganglia in the head and neck region. This is something which has not been described in any ENT textbook that I could find. So I found the answer in an anatomy textbook. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of the discussion. We will today discuss the different parasympathetic ganglia in the head and neck region. This is a 10-mark answer that was asked in a university exam for postgraduate ENT. Let's get into it. So, broadly speaking, there are only 4 parasympathetic ganglia. There is the submandibular ganglia, the otic ganglia, the ciliary ganglia, and the largest of them all, pterygopalatine ganglia. Now, each ganglia can be divided into 3 parts, can be described under 3 headings: location or situation, roots, and branches. So, there are 4 ganglia, and each of them will be described in 3 ways: submandibular, ciliary, otic, and pterygopalatine, and each ganglia has situation, roots, and branches. Let's start with submandibular ganglia. Submandibular ganglion is located in the submandibular region, of course, between the anterior belly of digastric and the posterior belly of digastric, and bounded above by the lower border of mandible. It lies superficial to the hyoglossus muscle. Functionally, submandibular ganglion is connected to facial nerve, and topographically, submandibular ganglion is connected to lingual branch of mandibular nerve. Mandibular nerve, as you know, is the third division of the trigeminal nerve. Now, roots of submandibular ganglion, there is the sensory root, the sympathetic root, and the parasympathetic root. The parasympathetic root is also known as secretomotor root. Let's talk about the sensory root of submandibular ganglion. Lingual nerve is the sensory root of submandibular ganglion, and submandibular ganglion is suspended by 2 roots of lingual nerve. Now, submandibular ganglion also has sympathetic root, which is the sympathetic plexus around the facial artery. This plexus contains postganglionic fibers from superior cervical ganglion of sympathetic trunk. Postganglionic fibers are vasomotor to submandibular salivary gland. Now, parasympathetic or secretomotor root of submandibular ganglion is the superior salivatory nucleus through the nervus intermedius via chorda tympani, which of course is a branch of facial nerve. Parasympathetic fibers get relayed in the submandibular ganglion. Now, submandibular ganglion has some branches also. What are the branches? Direct branches to submandibular salivary gland, and some postganglionic fibers also reach the sublingual salivary gland and glands in the oral cavity through the lingual nerve. Now, pterygopalatine ganglion. Pterygopalatine ganglion is the largest parasympathetic ganglia in the head and neck. It is also known as sphenopalatine ganglion. Functionally, pterygopalatine ganglion is related to facial nerve, and pterygopalatine ganglion is also known as ganglion of hay fever. Now, pterygopalatine ganglion has 3 roots: sensory, sympathetic, and parasympathetic or secretomotor. Sensory root of pterygopalatine ganglion is maxillary nerve. Ganglion is again suspended by 2 roots of maxillary nerve. Sympathetic root of pterygopalatine ganglion is postganglionic plexus around internal carotid artery. Nerve is deep petrosal, which unites with greater petrosal nerve to form nerve of pterygoid canal. Now, secretomotor root of pterygopalatine ganglion is the greater petrosal nerve, which arises from geniculate ganglion of the facial nerve. These fibers relay in the ganglion. Branches of pterygopalatine ganglion, they go to the lacrimal gland. There is the nasopalatine nerve. There are nasal branches, palatine branches, orbital branches, and pharyngeal branches. Let's talk about each of these branches one by one. Branches of pterygopalatine ganglion for lacrimal gland. Postganglionic fibers pass through zygomatic branch of maxillary nerve. Fibers hitchhike through zygomaticotemporal nerve into the communicating branch between zygomaticotemporal nerve and lacrimal nerve, then to the lacrimal nerve for supplying the lacrimal gland. Nasopalatine nerve runs on nasal septum. Nerve ends in the anterior part of hard palate. It supplies secretomotor fibers to nasal and palatal glands. Then there are basal branches of pterygopalatine ganglion which supplies the medial wall of nose, that is nasal septum, and the lateral wall of nose. The mucosa as well as the glands present in the lateral wall of nose and the medial wall of nose. For the medial wall of nose or nasal septum, there are medial, posterior and superior branches. For the lateral wall of nose, there are lateral, posterior and superior branches. Very easy to remember. Lateral wall, lateral, posterior, superior branches. Medial wall, medial, posterior and superior branches. Largest nasal branch of pterygopalatine ganglion is of course the nasopalatine nerve, which we discussed previously. Moving on, palatine branches of pterygopalatine ganglion. There is one greater palatine branch and there are 2 to 3 lesser palatine branches which pass through the respective foramina. Greater palatine foramina and lesser palatine foramina. The sensory and secretomotor supply to mucous membrane and glands of soft palate and hard palate is provided through these branches. Orbital branch of the pterygopalatine ganglion is for the orbital periosteum. Pharyngeal branch of the pterygopalatine ganglion is for the glands of pharynx. Now, otic ganglion. Otic ganglion is situated deep to the trunk of mandibular nerve. It is present between the nerve and tensor valley palatini muscle in infratemporal fossa. Okay, so otic ganglion is present between mandibular nerve and tensor valley palatini muscle in infratemporal fossa. Otic ganglion is present just distal to foramen ovale. Topographically, otic ganglion is connected to mandibular nerve, whereas functionally, otic ganglion is related to glossopharyngeal nerve. Otic ganglion has 4 roots. This is the only ganglion with 4 roots: sensory, sympathetic, parasympathetic, and motor. So only parasympathetic ganglion with motor roots is otic ganglion. Now, sensory root of otic ganglion is the auriculotemporal nerve. Sympathetic root of otic ganglion is the sympathetic plexus around middle meningeal artery. Secretomotor root of otic ganglion is the lesser petrosal nerve from tympanic plexus, which is formed by tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve. Lesser petrosal nerve fibers relay in the otic ganglion. Postganglionic fibers reach parotid gland through auriculotemporal nerve. Now, motor root of otic ganglion is a branch from nerve to medial pterygoid. Branch passes unrelayed through the ganglion, and this branch will divide into 2 branches to supply tensor valley palatini and tensor tympani. Now, branches of otic ganglion, again postganglionic branches, pass through auriculotemporal nerve to supply the parotid gland, and motor branches supply 2 muscles, tensor valley palatini and tensor tympani. Finally, we have ciliary ganglion, which is a very small ganglion present in the orbit. Topographically, ciliary ganglion is related to nasociliary nerve, which is a branch of ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and functionally, ciliary ganglion is related to oculomotor nerve. Now, the roots of ciliary ganglion are sensory, sympathetic, and parasympathetic. Sensory root of ciliary ganglion is the long ciliary nerve. Sympathetic root of ciliary ganglion is by the long ciliary nerve from plexus around ophthalmic artery, and parasympathetic root of ciliary ganglion is a branch to inferior oblique muscle. Fibers arise from Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Fibers join oculomotor nerve. Then fibers leave the oculomotor nerve via nerve to inferior oblique, and the fibers are relayed in the ciliary ganglion. Branches of ciliary ganglion are 10 to 12 short ciliary nerves containing postganglionic fibers for the supply of constrictor or sphincter pupillae, for narrowing the size of pupil, and ciliaris muscle for increasing the curvature of anterior surface of lens, which is required during accommodation of the eye. So this is an example of a question that you will not find the answer to in traditional ENT textbooks, and these are questions which are fortunately or unfortunately asked in postgraduate theory exams for ENT. Fortunately, because the answer is very easy, and unfortunately because you might have to spend a lot of time searching for it. So I hope you like this video. Take care. Bye bye. Please leave a comment regarding which topic you want me to discuss in next week's video, and I hope I'll see you in the next video very soon. And please don't forget to be awesome.